Yate, my name is Marie Gladue. Tapahan shlido zislan bashichin chishishichedo tachi nishanaleda. Although I live on the east side of Big Mountain, and this is where we're at my homestead. Um, my mother, Catherine Smith, lived here for her whole life, actually, in the area. Living on the land is a very important thing to do as an Indigenous person. So this is something I think in my mother's some of the things that she was trying to get across, at least to me, was that like one time I asked her, why didn't you relocate? And she said, well, my nully, my paternal grandmother and grandparents, they're the ones that raised me for the most part here in this community. Um, and they told me that don't ever leave this land because even though you might not have the money, you're gonna always like have food, you're gonna always have water, and there's things that resources here that you can utilize. And and of course the part about that is what she shared is like, I guess her grandmother told her, always remember to make earth offerings. There's a connection of something that is spiritual, a deeper connection when you make earth offerings because you do prayers. But also, it's like you're utilizing the land and you have a relationship. So it's like, it's something to show that you're grateful for. The land when we were young was certainly different. Like we still had springs all over the place, actually. I don't remember having to worry about having to haul water. We had like a livestock pond out here, and it was never empty. We just had water hauled for us yesterday in this big truck. And depending on who hauls for you, like we have a neighbor, if he makes a one haul and it's not even actually like a big water tank, we give him $50. That's not the water cost, it's just the gas cost for him to haul. And and we're having to reduce our sheep little by little now. We're like, which one, we don't know. Just because, like, I think it was last summer we were hauling every week, huh? In a month you spend almost $200 for water hauling. Um, so returning here back to the land and learn how to live, um, a part of it, a big part of it is having a sheep herd. And so the herd that we have, it is passed down from my mother. When you're out there on the land and knowing that you have to interact with the vegetation because your livestock needs it, you really notice the change. There's such a dryness to the vegetation, and even some of the ones, the vegetation or the brush that were so hardy, that they just stay alive no matter what. Even them, they're having trouble. Like they're all like drying up. And if you look out there in the tree line, you just see the red where all the trees have died. And so there's a lot of that, the evidence of that happening. But you definitely notice we don't get our monsoons. We're lucky if we get like a little bit of a little bit of drops. No snow, not like the snow we used to get. So we're definitely like in a very severe drought. I think people when they live like in a town like Flagstaff or Phoenix, or where you just turn on the faucets or that everything is ready at hand, uh, you're not going to notice these things because you're not out there walking around and noticing, oh, this plant looks like this, or this plant is dry, or something to that effect, right? It's not going to hit you because you're like in that bubble. It creates such an illusion for people. if you've been living on the land and the land knows you, and then all of a sudden you up and move and go away and don't come back, it's like the land misses you, you know? It's just like maybe your mother misses you, right? And we don't stop to think about that. So we talk a lot about just transition, you know, the meaning that, like, hey, after having been under uh, a coal company, you know, digging up the land, and you got the power plant, and I mean, they all connect. It has to do with, it goes back to water, right? Um, and so I think part of what also happened, I talked about all the springs that have now disappeared. A lot of the people in the community blame the mine, you know, with all that pumping that they did. Of course, they deny it. So when we say just transition, I think it's like the land has been damaged, it's hurting. And your cornfields, you know, like we never used to have to water them. The monsoons would always come in time. Now it's not that way. Being sustainable way back how it used to be is a little bit more of a challenge because there's like changes, big changes that have happened within our probably the environment on the ground. And when we don't honor um, and respect our environment, and that's probably why we have like protocols such as earth offerings and things to remind people, you know, that we have like this other sacred relationship with our environment. And it's just like having, you know, like a mother and child relationship or a partner relationship. If you don't tend to those things somehow, you know, like nurture it and things, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when you abuse that relationship? Like what's going to happen? It's the same thing like with our environment. We're not listening because when you listen, it's painful. That's why I say I don't think too much about it, because it's painful when you listen to the environment, how like it does hurt, and we're not listening.